Welcome aboard the Ear to There podcast, the podcast that'll help you vacation like a pro in any Disney destination. For those of you standing, please sit down and hold on throughout our journey and get ready to learn how to have the time of your life. And now, here's your host, Phil Gramlich.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Ear to There podcast. I'm your host, Phil Gramlich. I'm also the owner and operator of Ear to There Travel, which is a Disney specialized travel agency. It's my job to help you have the best possible Disney vacation by taking away the stress and anxiety of planning a trip so you can focus on the fun things like your family and enjoying the magic. You can find the podcast, my blog, or request a free quote over at eartotheretravel.com. Now grab a drink, grab a snack, and as a famous mouse once said, on with the show. If you've ever been to the Walt Disney World Resort before, you've probably seen that family. The children are having meltdowns, the parents are scrambling to figure out what to do about it, and the guests around the poor family are running past them as fast as they can. Yes, you might have just encountered the unprepared family in Walt Disney World. But it doesn't have to be that way. A Disney vacation can truly be the trip of a lifetime for a family with young children. On this episode of the podcast, we're going to give you our top tips for bringing young children to Walt Disney World. Here to share their parenting and Disney parks expertise are a couple of ladies who know an awful lot about taking little ones to the parks. My first guest is a mom, a certified personal trainer, yoga teacher, and the founder of HealthyMoving.com. She's an Orlando local who walks with her kids around the Disney parks several times each week. Jen Hoffman, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Phil. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you for coming back. I know it's very difficult to have to do another one of these with me, but I appreciate you coming back on.
It is not at all. It's so fun.
All right, and my second guest is making her world podcast appearance tonight. She's also a mom to 3 little kids. She's a former Walt Disney World cast member, and she just also happens to be my wife, so I have to be really careful what I say. So please welcome Amy Gramlich to the podcast. Ames, thank you so much for doing it for me.
Oh, my pleasure, and no problem. And thank you so much for having me on, 27 podcasts in. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
No, I'm so excited to do this and talk about this subject, which is so fun.
Yeah. Well, I had to grow my audience a little bit first, and you know how it goes.
I do. I see where the priorities are.
I had to get my big time celebrities in, and all the friends that I have, and kind of exhaust
I know
the
I'm
list.
not like Bob Saxon or anything.
No, you're not. You're not. And you're actually, no, he's on last week's episode. I was going to say you're beating him, but you're not at all. Okay.
No.
All right. So since you guys are the actual experts on kids, and I'm just the dope that kind of carries the diaper bag around the parks, I want to kind of leave it up to you guys to give me your best tips on bringing small kids, and infants into the parks. So, because the thing is, you need to do your best to avoid meltdowns when on a Walt Disney World vacation, because you all know, you've seen it a million times, where there's the parents who are walking like zombies and the kids freaking out, and they don't know what to do. So, Jen, if you're taking little kids, you're taking your kids to Disney, what's your first tip?
Okay, so not only have I seen it, but I've lived it. I've been the parent in that situation. So hopefully you're going to learn from my experience. But my first tip is actually before you even leave. I had a standing list of things I would order from Amazon. I'm an Amazon Prime member. And I would have an order that I would place 3 days before we would go. It had all the diapers we needed for the week, all the snacks, I used to bring granola bars, stuff like that into the parks, wipes, all that kind of stuff that we would need. I had a standing order with Amazon. I had it already. I knew exactly what I needed. I would have it shipped, and it would be when we would check in, I would say, we received a package. Can you please get it or bring it to the room or whatever? It always made it the same day that we were there. Everything was there when we arrived. It's saved on packing, and so simple to not have to pack a week's worth of diapers in your suitcase. You need an entire suitcase just for that with a couple of kids. So that's my first tip. Find, and there's other services too besides Amazon. I think you guys use Garden Grocer, right?
Yeah, we do.
Yes, that was one of my tips too, with Garden Grocer. But that's exactly what we do, and it's such a good idea. And it really helps because you feel prepared,
Exactly. And you feel like, okay, I know the things I need. And I kept like a list when we would discover there was something else. I mean, I would even send antibacterial, like the hand antibacterial cream, like pretty much every like toiletry / kid item that we would need that was, disposable, I would order and have it sent right away.
Yeah.
So that's
such a smart idea. And then you don't have to remember it later. When you're packing last minute, you don't have to panic and worry.
Well,
I didn't remember this, it's already there.
Yeah, when you have little kids, you're doing that most of the time anyway, is packing at the last minute. And
right.
Trying to cram everything in a bag the night before you leave. And yeah, you forget everything. And that's a good thing about having, a service like Garden Grocer or using Amazon. The only tip is Garden Grocer will send wine and beer to your resort.
Amazon. That's a must. That's a must.
Amazon doesn't do that, I don't think.
Okay, folks, if you're traveling with kids, scrap the Amazon, go with Garden Grocer so you can get your beer and wine delivered. That's key.
Right, but the only thing
the
only thing about Garden Grocer is they upcharge it quite a bit. It's not outrageous, but they do add like I forget the percentage, but it's a small fee to each item to kind of, because they actually go shopping for you. They don't have stuff in like a big warehouse, like Amazon does. So they will add a fee to every order, to every item of every order. So you do pay something like 10% more, 15% more, but it's worth it for me.
Yeah,
it's definitely worth it.
And like you said, Jen, the diapers. We were bringing twins to the parks, and we were staying 10 days at a time. There's no way you can bring that many diapers with you.
No. I literally would send an entire case of wipes.
Yeah, so did we.
I did.
Oh, yeah, you need that.
You just burn through. You wipe the ice cream off their faces, everything. You need wipes for everything.
And every time they touch something on an attraction, they come out. You're wiping every part of their body to try to keep them from getting sick. That
exactly.
happens. And then they get sick anyway. You're on the way. One day you get home from your trip and they're all sick, but it's worth it.
Hey, if you can wait till you get home, I always say it's not a Disney vacation until someone throws up, because someone always
That's so true.
We have had that. All right, so from Amazon and all that, and Garden Grocer, which is, that's a great tip. But Ames, what's your first one? And by the way, everybody's going to hear me calling her Ames. Her name is Amy, but I call her Ames. So Ames, go ahead.
It's fine. So my first one is probably really obvious, but I didn't know all the ins and outs of it until I went myself, which is the baby care centers. And I know it's really good, like it's obvious if you do forget to get diapers or anything like that, you can get them. But I didn't realize until I went that they have like TVs and they have air conditioning and they have like cribs and rocking chairs. And you're allowed to sit in there. They never kick you out. So you can sit in there as long as you want. And I remember one time we went with Alexa, our oldest, who was like 18 months, and they were like these little 7 dwarf guys, and she played with them for, I swear, at least an hour. And it was so nice because I could just sit down and be cool, and it was great. So I highly recommend you hitting the baby care centers for anything you need or just a break too.
I always make a beeline for the baby care centers when I have to change a diaper, no matter where I am in the park, because they have the disposable like changing table toppers. So if you're in, and plus the changing tables are much bigger there than they are like if you're in a random bathroom. But I don't want to. I'm a bit of a germaphobe. I don't lay my kids like straight down on a changing table thing anywhere. But I always have like a disposable pad to put on top of it. But in baby care, they already have that all taken care of for you. So I absolutely love baby care. I'm going to be sad.
That's a really good tip, actually.
Yeah, I'm going to be sad when we're not in baby care. When I don't have an excuse to head in there anymore.
You can just go anyway, I think.
My question is this. Amy is 5 feet tall. Can I get away with pushing her into the baby care?
Sure.
When we're having a hard
Give me like
day
a
in the
blanket.
park. Yeah, I think I can. But it's funny. Jenny mentioned like you won't lay your kids down on the changing table.
Yeah,
we would like that with our first, and then, but like 2 months into having the twins, we were like, just lay it's fine, just lay them down. They're fine.
They're fine.
Yeah, and it was the same. Like they would drop the pacifier on the ground. With the first one, you're like, oh my god, you have to sanitize it. You pull out the sanitizer wipes. You're running your boiling hot water. With the second and third, you're like, just wipe it on your pants and give it to them. They'll be fine. It's fine. You just kind of like, you brush it off.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. We have, believe it or not, we have our third kid and we've never had a pacifier. We've gone with sans pacifiers.
Oh man!
But
you guys are so smart.
But they randomly will put their fingers in their mouth. So in Disney, we're always like, antibacterial, the hands, keep your hands out of your mouth. But it's the same principle. We get less concerned about it. But yeah, I am a huge fan of baby care. I think that's a great tip. You want me to hit my next one?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so my next one is about drinking and making sure you have enough beverages for the kids. And I have a little tip, and you can do whatever works best for your family. But I really think it's best if they're drinking water, especially if it's hot. The sugar and stuff and juice, I just see some kids, like, especially if they're drinking more than they normally would, and you're giving them more juice than they normally would get, it can really like wreak havoc on their emotional like tracking to have all that extra sugar. So I know depending on whether kids will drink it or not, but I think it's so important to be pushing the fluids as much as possible when you're there. And that's another thing that I try to get ahead of time. If you get from the garden grocer or you make a grocery store run before you go, having plenty of your own drinks to bring in will save you tons of money. But if you can get the kids to drink water and you bring a disposable thing inside baby care, they have filtered water and you can use it to fill up cups. So, or in any of the stops, at any restaurant, they'll always fill up water for you as well. So disposable cups with that, if you can get your kids to drink water, is super simple.
I didn't know they had the filtered water. The babies.
I didn't either.
That's cool.
They do for the bottles. Like, I think that's why they have it in there for people who are making formula bottles.
Right.
But I use it to fill up. They have like a little cup they want you to fill up with there, and then you can pour that little cup into whatever
like several times.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
because it's like the little cone cup,
Yeah. Well, we did the thing when as soon as our kids like transitioned to juice, we would put like, a third juice in and like 2/3 water. So, so they now they don't even know, they never noticed it. So now it's funny, if we give our kids straight juice, they think it's the weirdest thing on the planet. They don't. So, but like that is a good tip to have water. And this is going to sound like I'm bashing Disney, but I'm not. The water fountains sometimes can be a little bit funky in the parks, so a little bit warm. And it's not always the best place to kind of fill up a water bottle or something. So
I definitely would say baby care or ask at a restaurant.
Yeah, they all, because restaurants will give you.
That's true, too.
Yeah, the restaurants will give you as much, ice water as you want for free. It doesn't cost anything. So
in the past couple of summers, I've also noticed that when it's really hot out, and outside of some of the restaurants, I've seen them at Tony's, like in the waiting area at Tony's, and in the outside area where you're waiting at Be Our Guest, that they have the big, huge jugs too.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
I have seen that. That's so smart.
Yeah. So I think they're getting better about different options besides the drinking fountain.
Yeah, and not having kids pass out all over the place. Okay. James, you're up next for your next one.
Good point. Okay, so I'm doing something totally different. So I hope that's cool. But I just, I'm going on personal experience here. And especially when it is hot, like we were just talking about, I just feel like a lot of times when when the kids see the characters in the parks, especially princesses, personally, and there's a really long line to wait for them, that is a really quick road to about them. So what we started doing is you can go to my Disney Experience app and, before your trip, and it shows you like all the character times and which character is going to be where, when. So what I started doing was you can make little alarms on your phone to tell you when, to meet certain characters. And so what we started doing is, especially in Epcot, there are so many like princesses that you can meet at different times. So I just feel like it's a really good idea to plan your day around going to Epcot and going to get to meet the characters. That way you don't have to wait in long lines. You don't have to worry about fast passes. Then you get to hit all the characters at once. And I think it's a really fun experience.
That's a great tip.
Yeah,
I like that.
And if we had done that from the get-go, we wouldn't have had the huge Snow White issue that we had a couple of years ago. It was a mess.
True.
And if anyone's listening and hasn't heard that, I did a blog post about it, but we went to Hollywood and Vine and thought for dinner. Now there are characters for dinner, but I guess a year or so ago, there weren't characters there for dinner. And we took our kids with their autograph books all ready to meet Doc McStuffins and Jake and Sophia the First. And we sat down and the dinner, we sat and we waited and we waited and we waited and we just looked around for the characters. And here I am, I'm supposed to know my stuff as a travel agent. And I looked at Amy and I said, I don't think they're coming. And they weren't.
Oh, no.
And our server came over to Amy and she said, are you guys here for characters? And she said, yeah. Because she said, I noticed your autograph book. And Amy said, yeah, we're here. And she said, no, honey, they're not. There are no characters at this meal. So that's when we jumped in our My Disney Experience app. And we saw that the girls had just gotten Snow White dresses that day. And they were wearing them. And we jumped on and noticed that Snow White was meeting in Germany for in an hour. And it's like a 20-minute meeting. Like she's not out there very long. So I swear, we finished our food, we got our check, and we ran from Hollywood and Vine to Germany in the Epcot. We got there, I swear, I know this is an exaggeration, but it doesn't feel like it. I think we got there in a half hour. And that sounds
my
insane.
gosh.
I think we did.
That sounds insane. But it was the hottest. It was so hot. We were sweating so bad. But
That was awful.
we got to the International Gateway, and Amy was like, she was like someone in a desert who had been crawling for 3 months. She was like, just go on without me, get in line. So I ran, and I got in line, and somehow we made it, and our kids all got to meet Snow White. And the pictures are hilarious because they're so sweaty and red and angry. Their faces are like so red, but the big smiles on her face, it was great. But yeah, so to make a long story short, which it wasn't, use the My Disney Experience app because it'll save you those huge issues in the parks.
No, really well. And it's just so great because, I'm sorry, I was just going to say.
No, go ahead.
Because it tells you like exactly what time they're going to be there. And a lot of people don't know. So if you get there, even 10 minutes before they're supposed to be there, you usually don't have a line at all. So it's really a good way to meet them.
Yeah, you're right. All right, Jane, you're up. Number 3.
Okay, so everybody who has kids knows the dreaded situation of not being able to keep them at the table for the entire time that you're eating.
Oh, yes.
And of course, you're at a restaurant, like at home, if they get up and walk away, like at least you're, in your house. But when you're at a restaurant, somebody has to get up and go with them. So Disney does this thing that they don't really, I haven't ever heard anybody say it, but they've offered it when they've seen us in a situation. So I always ask for it if we need it. They will stagger the entrees of the adults. So if you know that you're going to have to get up, yes. So you can say, can I have my entree? Like I often say, because my husband gets hangry if he hasn't eaten. So I always let him eat first. I say, can I have my entree 10 minutes after him? And they'll do it. They bring it 10 minutes after. So you still get to eat hot food, even though someone has to get up with a kid who won't sit at the table. It is awesome. Wow. It makes
and I have to tell you, this is the best tip of the whole podcast. I've never heard of this.
Yeah, I've never heard them advertise it, but occasionally if I get up, how we discovered it was at the castle. We were at the castle and I got up, of course, it's so hard for a 2-year-old girl to sit at the table at the castle. It's like, oh my gosh, I want to see all the things. And she was fascinated by going up and down the stairs. And the waitress said to my husband, oh, we stagger meals all the time. How about if I bring hers out in 15 minutes? He was like, really? You can do that? So they brought my entree out 15 minutes later. You're paying so much for the food. And I love the food at Disney, but it's not good cold 10 minutes after it's been sitting at the table. So asking for your entree 10, 15 minutes after your partner, huge, huge win.
Awesome.
That is amazing.
Yeah, what's funny is I was talking to your aforementioned husband, and we were talking about about when you're parents and you have 2 kids, it's okay because his I forget the way. Oh no, the way he said it was you're man to man when you have 2.
Yeah,
and he said, but then when you have 3 and you only have 2 parents, you have to go into a zone. And that's where you really get fouled up. And it's so true. Like because we both have 3 kids and 2 kids, you're fine. You can take care of that. But when you have to go into that zone defense and you have more than one kid and you have your eye on at one time, that's tough. And I never knew that they did that, but that's so cool.
I think, yes, I think if you ask for it, like I said, I don't know if they'll always tell you that they'll do it, but I'm pretty sure that if you ask for it at any one of the restaurants, they'll have no problem doing it. And now that I do it, I've seen other people around me doing it as well. I think you have to kind of like try to eat quickly if you do it that way, because they don't want you to take, their timing, how long, and their whole reservation system is based on you being at the table for an approximate amount of time. So you don't want to be disrespectful about doing it. But I eat it quickly whenever I've asked for it staggered afterwards.
Right. Who has 3 kids and doesn't eat in 10 seconds?
Exactly.
Like, you have kids running around the restaurant, you're going to eat fast.
Right.
You're not taking a doggy bag home. You're eating and going, that's it.
And usually when mine comes, I say, like, here's the card for the check. Yeah. Like, I try to start getting that, like, taken care of so that they know I'm not going to, like,
we
sit
do that.
there.
Yeah, we do that anyway.
Yes.
We're like, all right, they're being good. Let's get the card. Let's get the check out here. Let's go. We're ready.
Exactly.
All right. So that's a great tip because I didn't know about that one. And I'm excited to do that on our next trip, which is, again, in a couple weeks.
Me too.
So, Ames, I think, you're up right for your third one?
Yes, I am up. So mine, again, I'm kind of off the beaten path here, so I hope that's all right. But so I just feel like, just in terms of, toddlers and stuff, at least mine are totally obsessed with Disney Junior. And I feel like there's not all that much. I mean, I always expect there to be a little more. But there's a whole lot of Disney Junior stuff in Hollywood. Hollywood Studios. And, I don't know if a whole lot of people know about it. So I just kind of wanted to, talk about all that awesome Disney Junior stuff. Like there's Hollywood and Vine, which you were just talking about. Don't go for dinner unless you want to see Minnie and Fred. Yeah. But for breakfast and breakfast and lunch, that's Jake and Sophia and Hanny Manny and Doc. And also you can meet those characters. I know at least you can meet Doc and Sophia in the animation courtyard, also in Hollywood Studios.
I think Jake's over there.
Cool now. Oh, you're right.
I think Jake is over there too. Yeah.
Oh, that's such a good call. I remember that. And what's cool about it, again, is that not a whole lot of people realize it's there. So it feels like you get a lot more time with the characters. Like I remember we went once with Alexa, actually, and we did see Jake, and he danced with her and was like talking to her for a while. And it was really so cool. I know, it's really awesome. And then there's also right by there, I don't know what the name of the store is, but there's a store that has Disney Junior merchandise, and I think it's the only one on Disney property that has it. So it's all the different Disney Junior shows. It's a really good stop if your kids are obsessed with Disney Junior, like ours are.
Yeah, and they have the Lion Guard toys there too. I just saw when I was down a few weeks ago.
Oh, they do?
Oh, yeah, wow!
I know, and I didn't think that show was very popular yet. But I know our kids doesn't really hold their attention. Sorry, Disney.
My kids are obsessed.
Really?
So it might just be like, I can't remember how old your oldest is.
She's
how old is
5.
Okay, so my oldest is 6, going to be 7 in July, and I think her brother, who's 3, going to be 4 in July, is into it mostly because of how into it she is.
Yeah.
But they are obsessed. They play Lion Guard constantly and fight over who is which guard.
So you'll have to go. They have all the merchandise in there. I was just in there a couple weeks ago.
I had no idea. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was
and they have like Miles from Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
Stuff which I've never seen anywhere else. So that's kind of cool.
They don't have a lot of. They don't have a lot of Miles from Tomorrowland stuff anywhere. They're just the little action figures. I think is all we've seen, right?
Yeah, but it's still, I don't see it anywhere else.
No, you're right. And we don't listen. This is a tip from me, and I know I'm not really technically included in the list, but I keep piping up anyway. Don't buy your children the small action figures because they will lose them. They do it. We've bought them so many times for our kids, and because that's what they want. They want the little action figures. They're like 3 inches high, and they get the pack of them. And in 5 minutes after they open them, one is lost, And then for the rest of the trip, you hear about Miles, and Miles is gone, and we don't know where Miles is. And so, yeah, there's just...
And you can't find him anywhere.
No, and then you go back to that same store, and they don't have them.
Right.
And you have to figure out something else. So, yeah, just a tip from me to you, stick with the plush toys. That they don't lose them. They hold them tight. The little miniature ones, they lose all the time. And who am I kidding, though? We're going to buy 5 more packs of them the next time we're at Disney. So...
Well, I just have to jump in here because since you mentioned losing things, I have to give you a shout out, Phil, because Phil has a superpower. Phil has a superpower that is not known. I don't think it's been mentioned on the podcast yet, but in his dad awesomeness, he has an ability to spot lost things. He's kind of like a fairy, not in a bad way. You know how Tink
this podcast took a terrible turn all of a sudden.
No. Like, you know how there's the guy fairies in those shows too. You're good at finding lost things.
They're very nice.
My daughter lost a little Doc McStuffins. It was plush, but it was tiny. It was like one of these tiny little Doc McStuffin things. And Phil wasn't right with us at the time that she lost it, but he came up to us when she was in like the full, crying meltdown thing. And I explained she lost something. And he goes, "Was it a little Doc McStuffins? I know where it is." And it wasn't exactly where he had last seen it, but he still found it and gave it to her. Yeah. He is like the superhero. She even made him a superhero with a cape standing on the Epcot ball because she was so grateful for you.
That's true. And
just so you know, we have that hanging on our refrigerator.
It's still hanging on our fridge.
I'm so glad. She works very hard on it. She's so grateful.
She did a great job with it. But you know what's so funny about that is I got so lucky that I saw it because I said it, which I shouldn't have done. I said it out loud, right in front of her to you. And then as soon as I said it, I was like, "Oh no. If I can't deliver on this, I am done. Like, this kid will never talk to me ever again." But luckily we found it.
But you delivered, and now you're like her hero for sure.
Good.
So.
All right, so I don't know.
All right. I think it's me. Do you want me to jump in? I think it's me.
It is you, yeah.
Okay, so you have to know your kid, but I have a kind of a personal belief that this is really important on the first trip, and then it's even somewhat important on subsequent trips, but I know we want to kind of surprise them with everything that they're going to experience, but it's really overwhelming for them to just be completely like, what is happening? What's going on around me? And there is so much great video content on YouTube and other places now that it won't ruin the magic of experiencing it in person for the first time, but it'll just kind of help set the stage and prepare them mentally so that they're not totally overwhelmed. I've had some friends who've come to town, and when we take their kids to the parks for the first time, it's so overwhelming, the whole understanding of even what's happening around them. And it can lead to a rough entry the first couple of days if they're trying to figure things out. And I've been bringing my kids since they were really little, so I wasn't as clear about it until I saw some older kids coming for the first time. But if you watch some videos and then explain the process, like, there'll be rides, we'll be waiting in line, we'll do one thing at a time, like all those kind of basic things. We think they will understand, but they have no context for this at all. So you got to kind of set the expectations and prepare. And I think watching YouTube videos together as a family before you're going about all the cool things you're going to get to do and see can be a really fun way to build anticipation for the trip. But know that the first time they see the castle in person, oh my gosh, that's like no watching a video ahead of time will spoil the awe and wonder they'll have when they're there in front of it.
I totally agree.
Yeah. But I think gotta prepare. Too. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's funny because we've gone so many times, but I still find myself preparing. Even Alexa, as we said, is 5. I still kind of find myself preparing her, reminding her, okay, we're going to have to do this, we're going to wait, but then this cool thing will happen. And also about the YouTube videos, which I so agree with. What's cool about it is, especially as your kids get older and they can ride more things, it's really hard to know what to expect and what you think they will think is scary or that they'll think is cool, then you might be wrong about.
Exactly.
So you can kind of I think you can almost like virtually ride something. You can kind of just watch the whole thing. And that's such a good way to prepare because that's happened to us where last time we took actually them to see Tough to Be a Bug, which we thought it was so fun and funny and who cares that it's dark. And we totally forgot that like the black widow spiders come down from the ceiling.
Oh my God, we left Tough to Be a Bug screaming as well. It's definitely happened.
My gosh, which you never, like as parents, you're like, this is so fun and funny. They're going to love it.
It's a kid's show. It's so great.
I know. And they hate it. So now
and everybody was looking at me like, oh my gosh, how dare you bring a child who's so terrified? And I'm like, hello, I thought it was a kid thing.
Yeah,
I know.
It happened to me on the Great Movie Ride because I went with a friend of ours who, with his, I think Alexa was 3 or maybe 4, and we went and he was like, yeah, it's a 5-minute wait, let's go. And we were like, yeah, we'll take the kids. So he took his daughter and I took Alexa and we went on it. And, and I was like, oh yeah, because you remember the fun things. You remember the Wizard of Oz. You remember the finale movie. You forget the alien and
and the shooting and
So the gunshot. She was she looked the other way, which worried me a little bit. But then when we got into the alien part, the alien
you were done.
When he started, or she, I guess, started coming out of the wall and coming out of the ceiling. Spoiler alert! Sorry that I told everybody about that. If you haven't been to Hollywood Studios since it opened, but anyway, it scared the pants off her. And then we were done for like 2 hours. We couldn't do a thing because I was dope and I was like, oh, she'll love it. And she didn't. And we were done. So,
oh my gosh, I'm pretty sure my 3-year-old is going to need therapy after me making him sit through, oh my gosh, Phantasmic. It was awful. Like it was in like November, so it wasn't hot. He was soaked with sweat because he was so terrified. He had hair sweats. It was so bad. He still is like, remember that horrible thing you made me do there?
They never let you forget it, do they? Never,
oh, no,
ever.
No,
and the crazy thing
that's what I was going to say.
He didn't even see anything scary because he refused to look. Like, I don't even know what made him afraid. But you never know. That's why you're like, that's such a good tip, Amy, because you never know what's going to be fearful for them. So the more you can watch ahead of time and kind of know, the better off you'll be. And I think sometimes the thing that scares them is that they don't know what's coming. Like if they have some perception of it, then they're a little bit less freaked out.
Yeah, so
I think you're so right. And it's such a good point that you said, like, as adults, you don't really think about it. Because I think mostly as adults, we like to be surprised because so much doesn't surprise us.
Right.
So we think that that's such a fun concept, but we forget how scary it used to be.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't like to be surprised as much as we do by any means.
No.
All right. So I forget whose turn it was. So whoever's it was.
It's me. It's my turn.
And it's your fourth. It's your fourth one, I think, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
See, I'm paying attention over here.
You're doing great. Sorry, I'm switching around now. And I have, I think, probably a really, really obvious one. And this may be a little bit controversial, but this is just something that we feel pretty strongly about. And I know our kids are still pretty young, but I just want to say that I think personally you should really, really consider bringing a stroller. Even if you don't feel like your kid, you feel like your kid can walk so much, or you feel like your kid is too old for a stroller, or you feel like people are going to look at you strangely. They're definitely not going to look at you strangely. And it's so much walking. It's like, I think it's like 10 to 12 miles a day, generally. Like if you plan on going, from open to close, even with a break, you're walking so much more than even you probably normally do. Not you, Jen, but most people. And I just think people don't realize how exhausted they're going to be. And you can ruin your trip in 2 seconds. Not even if they're tired, but if their shoes aren't good and they get blisters on their feet, they're not going to want to go back to the park the next day. And it's just crazy. And the other thing is that we found, even if, they don't want to get in the coach the whole time, you can actually put your shopping bags and such in the coach, and it's very helpful. But I just really think if you have any hesitation, you should either bring it or at least, rent it, which I think you can rent a stroller for $10 a day or something pretty reasonable in the parks. And the strollers there look pretty good too.
Yeah, and there's also like outside stroller rental companies too that'll do it, where they'll when you get to your resort, they'll drop them off, and then when you're done with your vacation, they'll come pick them up. So that's a good. I think it's like Kingdom Strollers or something like that. And
wow.
Yes, that's right.
I'm not affiliated with them, so I'm not making any money. But Kingdom Strollers, if you do listen to this, you can give me a call and we'll work something out. But yeah, but you really do, like, your kids aren't used to walking that far, especially if you're like us, where we don't live anywhere where they can walk anywhere themselves. We live in the city, so our street's kind of, it's not super busy, but it's busy enough. It's like they're walking up and down the street outside by themselves all the time. They're not getting it, 5, 6, 7, 8 miles of walking in a day. So for us, the strollers, it's a must. It's a must bring for every trip, even for our 5-year-old, because she'll walk a lot, but when she's tired, it's nice to have it, to put her in, and she can sit back and relax. Sometimes they fall asleep in there. That's nice. You can have a little quiet.
Oh, that's the best.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a really good. I think that's a great pick.
We are absolutely insane, and we have never done a stroller, even though we have 3 kids. But I will say that it's part of our family thing, and we've always lived where it's practical, that we walk a lot. Even though we walk a lot, though, it's definitely like herding cats, and there's meltdowns and all kinds of stuff. But that's just our thing. But I will say, if you even remotely think you want to try it without a stroller, then you need to at least 3 days a week have your kids walk 7 to 10 miles a day. Yeah. And if they can't
that's really smart.
Like if that's part of your family's culture and you can do it, great. Have them wear the shoes they're going to wear on the vacation, all that stuff, like everything that you're replicate it as much as you can. And if you can't hang with it at home, don't try to do it at Disney. It'll make it really miserable.
Yeah, you don't want to you spend all that money to go on vacation. You don't want to make it horrible for you and your kids.
Right.
I agree.
Of course, because I'm the healthy moving person, I am going to say it's really great if you can get your kids to do that 7 to 10 miles at home, whether you're on vacation or not. I just have to say that because, that's like my thing. But
and I agree.
No, I'm sorry.
And that's why I said I felt so bad. It was okay.
No, I just feel like there should be a little disclaimer, going across the bottom of the screen.
Well, I'm going to share this podcast with my tribe, and they will call me out if I don't say. They'll be like,
right.
Jen, you went on there and you didn't even say about walking. So they know, I'm a total advocate of walking, however much you can in your life. But I think if you are not in the regular routine, both you and your kids, of walking long distances, and it doesn't have to be all in one shot. Like, it doesn't have to be that you do 7 miles, like a 7-mile hike. Right. But if you can't cover 7 miles over the course of a day, at least 3 days a week, all of you together, then don't try to do it at Disney. Yeah. You'll be really miserable.
Yeah, you don't want to have that.
No, that's a really good point. And like I said, I knew that's why I said it was going to be controversial. And I don't want to seem like I'm not. Because we do walk a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
And we do
find. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And we do find actually that the kids walk a lot more than we ever expect them to in the parks, but we're still always happy that we have it.
Absolutely. And I think that was such a good tip, what you said about you can put your bags in it if your kids are walking.
Yeah,
that's great. That's such
we do it all the time.
Yeah, because we buy 25 princess dresses every single trip that we
Exactly.
All right. So, John, I think you're up for your last one, right?
Yes, I am. My last one is a safety one. And thank God I've never had to use this, but I just think it's good to just have it as part of your routine when you're there, is every morning before you leave the hotel, just take a picture of your kids and what they're wearing, and have it on your phone. I think it's good to just have a photo of exactly what they look like that morning. If God forbid you had to go to a cast member and say, they're out of my sight, I don't know where they are. So you would have a current picture of them in their outfit that they're wearing.
Yeah, I never thought of
And I love that idea. I never thought of it either. That's so smart.
Super simple, and hopefully you'll never need it, but in the scary chance that you would. And I've seen, now that I live here, I've seen several instances of a kid not being connected with their parents. And it's such an intense moment. Yeah. You won't be able to remember, you won't be able to even think. And you probably do have photos on you of them in that, that day, but can you see what they're wearing and all that? I think it's just like, it's part of the routine of everybody stands by the hotel room door right before you walk out, quick picture, and then you leave. And then in your mind that if God forbid you needed it, you could just scroll right to that picture.
Yeah, that's a really good call. I know it as, Ames, I don't know if you remember this happening to you, but as a cast member, when I worked at Custodial, I used to come across, kind of frequently, I would come across kids who had gotten separated from their families, and it happens all the time at Disney. And you're right. It's never, I don't think it's happened to us as parents, but I remember just the look on these poor kids' faces and not realizing where their family was. And yeah, I think that would help. That helps a whole lot if their parents know and can tell a cast member exactly what they're looking for, who they're looking for, can give them colors, all that stuff. It's a really good tip.
Absolutely.
No, it's a great tip. And just as cast members, at least when I worked there, this was how they told us, like, especially I worked in Magic Kingdom, so you weren't allowed to cross lands is it okay to say this?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
in your costume. Because, it wasn't with the teaming. The only time you could ever cross lands was when you were with, a child that wasn't connected with their family. And you could go wherever told you they remembered seeing their parents last. So it's really good because, the cast member is going to most likely be heading your child, hopefully, towards you anyway. So if you can have that picture, out and just show every cast member you see, it's really going to help. And it's going to get the word back to the person.
I saw someone the first time I saw it was a kid get disconnected from their parents was someone brought, like a fellow guest brought a kid into the baby care center. So the kid had gotten lost somewhere like right outside of the baby care center. And the woman called and she described exactly what she was, like the cast member who kind of took the kid. She called and she described exactly what he was wearing. And within 20 seconds of her describing it, she said to the kid, okay, we have your parents. They're on their way here right now. And I was like, oh, awesome. Like,
so awesome.
And he immediately calmed down. I would say he was like 7 years old. So even, I think it's important even if they're a little bit older, but definitely important when they're kids and they can't say what their last name is or any of that stuff. It's so helpful to have that.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate fear, right? As a parent, anywhere.
Yes.
Really, anywhere in the world, but especially at Disney where there's so often it's elbow to elbow, people and that's a great idea. So,
and as my husband points out, you can walk out of there with a screaming child because that's part of what happens to a lot of people without the cast members really thinking, they wouldn't necessarily think something's wrong because a lot of kids leave screaming from Disney World. So I think it's like extra important. The more specific you can be, the faster. I think Disney is great with security, and the more specific you can be, the more they can help you.
Yeah, great tip, Jen. And we're going to use that now.
Really good tip.
I've never used it, but that's really, really helpful. And especially with lately, I've noticed that our boy, who is becoming more and more of a boy every day, is starting to wander a bit when we're out.
Oh my gosh!
And we're gonna have to keep an eye on him. I think the picture's gonna be a good idea.
My 3-year-old son.
Yeah, it's boys, man.
Terrifying.
They're just different. They're different.
They are.
We were talking about this recently. They're so they listen, but they're kind of in their own world, and they're not like girls are almost afraid of getting in trouble. Boys are not.
Right. They're like, they have their one track mind that it's on. I'm going to climb up onto that wall and walk on it. They don't care.
You're so right.
Yep.
They do not care.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Whatever other thing is happening.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. All right, Ames, you're up for your last one. What do you got? And make sure it's got to be a good one because everyone's listening.
I know. I'm actually going through all my different things.
A lot of pressure.
It's so much pressure. I'm trying to decide between like the most helpful and the most fun. So I'm going to kind of combine that. So I'm going to go back actually to World Showcase because I just think I hear so many people saying, I don't really think that Epcot is for kids. I don't really feel like I want to bring my kids. And to be honest with you, I think it's the best place for your kids because there's so much that you don't even realize. There's so much fun stuff going on there all the time. There's like live bands, and there's so many stores that are all air conditioned. And there's so many restaurants, and I'm going to combine and say, speaking of Garden Grocer and Amazon.com and all of that, you really can bring any food you want. And what we've recently discovered is you really can bring it into any restaurant. Like, we were actually at Be Our Guest recently, and I was like, is it okay if they're eating their own food in this really nice restaurant? And they said, yes, of course. So it's really good even for picky eaters, because you can either bring your own food or you can find any of the crazy snacks that are in Epcot. And it's also really nice, let's be honest, for parents, if they do want to have a little alcoholic beverage, they can sit and drink it while their kids are like off dancing, not off with you, but just dancing to a band or, as we said, waiting for a character or whatever. And I think it's something that a lot of people overlook when they have little kids, but it's really a good place for them. And they can just entertain themselves basically while you kind of rest and relax and take a break.
Epcot is we walk at Epcot most of all of the parks. We hit it at least once a week and some weeks twice a week for our several times a week when we're walking, because the kids can have so much more space there. Like in the Magic Kingdom, I'm constantly like, where are they? I think it's like crowds and space and everything. But at Epcot, they can have a couple of feet in front of us and I can still keep a close eye on them and all of that. I agree with you completely, Amy. I think it's a fabulous park for kids.
Yeah, it is the one too. It's the one that gets the bad rap for kids too. And there is a ton for kids to do there, not just in a World Showcase, but if you go over to Future World, there's, the Nemo, the Living Seas Nemo Pavilion. You could spend easily an hour there, maybe even an hour and a half. I mean, you have the ride, the Seas with Nemo and Friends. Then you have Turtle Talk with Crush, and then you guys can walk around go upstairs, go downstairs, look at all the tanks. That's
my 3-year-old can run that lap. Like if you know that tank upstairs, it's like circular.
Yeah. He
can just run that circle for a good 40 minutes and then he's ready for a nap afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, and there's that. There's the Three Caballeros ride in Mexico. There's Epcot character spot now. There's
Plus coloring the Duffies, that's huge with my kids. They love to color the Duffies at the different places.
The Kid Cot stations or wherever they are. And then,
Yep.
And then we have, don't forget, the Frozen extravaganza is coming very soon.
Oh, man.
Oh, yes, I meant to mention that.
Yeah, that's going to take over, that. As, doing the job that I do, I've gotten so many emails about that. People trying to get fast passes for that now, which they're not available. There's no fast passes available. Just if you're listening to this, please don't call me. No, I'm kidding. But they're not out there yet. I'm really excited for it. We won't get to do it until January because we'll be there soon, but it won't be open yet. But yeah, I mean, when that opens, I think that almost changes the whole dynamic of World Showcase because people are. I wonder, are they going to open World Showcase earlier because of that attraction?
I think they're going to have to.
Right?
I think they're going to have to.
Yes.
At least they'll have to open. I guess they can't open just that pavilion. I know that the restaurants open early for the Princess Breakfast and lunch, but
I think that they might just keep that open. I think it's going to change. I think we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
it has
such a demand for that ride and the meet and greet as well. Which, by the way, looks like it looks like that area is going to be awesome. Just looking at it as you walk by now, I think it's going to be seamless. I don't think it's going to stand out in any way. I think it's going to look like the rest of World Showcase. I hope it does, but I have confidence that it will.
No, it looks amazing. You're right.
Yeah. So, all right. So I think you guys gave some really awesome advice, and I kind of piped up with my way too wordy stories in the middle. So, so with that, I think that was it, right? That was everybody gave 5.
Yeah,
you're right.
So, all right. So yeah, hopefully, we helped a little bit for people who were on the fence about bringing their kids to Walt Disney World and taking the plunge and doing the trip because, it is something you really kind of have to plan out and you have to think about and you can't just take it lightly because there's so much to think about. Like we said tonight, there's a million things to go over in your head before you decide, we're going to do this. So hopefully we help some people out.
It's all worth it, though. It's totally worth it. whenever you see their look on their face. Even my 8-month-old, like I love seeing him take everything in. So it's amazing.
Oh, you're so right. And I think too, no matter how many times, because certainly I feel as an adult, no matter how many times I go, and especially for kids, it's just the most amazing experience every time. So it really is worth it. And it is worth it, even when you do the meltdowns or when you're sweating buckets or anything, it's totally worth it. So if you're thinking about it, you really should do it because you really will enjoy it.
All right, you heard the endorsements. eartotheirtravel.com, request a free quote. No, I'm kidding. All right, so
Absolutely.
Jen, if anybody wants to hear any more from you, if they want to go to your site, go to get your information, where should they go?
They can head to healthymoving.com, and I would be happy to get you and your kids training for your walking at Disney World or any other of your movement needs.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Jen, for coming on. And
thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, we'll do another one soon because it's always fun to have you, and I appreciate it.
I can't wait to hang with you guys in a couple weeks.
Yeah, a couple weeks. And
same. I'm so excited.
And Ames, I will see you in the other room in a minute.
That sounds good. I hear your echoes from the other room.
Thank you so. I know I'm so loud, right? But thank you so much for doing it, and I hope you had fun. It was fun for me. So I hope you guys.
I had a great time.
All right, so thank you again, guys, both of you.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
My pleasure. All right, bye.
That'll do it for this week's episode of the Ear to There podcast. Thank you, as always, so much for listening. I really appreciate it. All I really ask is if you did enjoy the show, please go over to Facebook, to Instagram, Twitter, to that crazy Snapchat that you kids are using so much, and share any and all episodes over there. I'd really appreciate that. But most important of all, you can go over to iTunes and leave a rating and a review. You can leave one like this one from Bellatorus Consulting, Breath of Fresh Air. He definitely is a breath of fresh air in a very crowded space with respect to Disney podcasts. Thank you so much to Bellatorus Consulting for that review. Also, from Amy Lizard, I Can't Miss Podcast. This podcast is awesome. When I listen to it, I feel like I'm sitting in a room with my friends, all talking about my favorite place in the world, Disney. Thank you so much to Amy Lizard for that one. I'm having a lot of fun recording these podcasts, but I'm also having a lot of fun booking and helping you guys book your vacations. So don't forget that that's my main job. That's what I do. You can get a free quote over at eartotheirtravel.com. Also, feel free to send me an email at phil@eartotheirtravel.com. You can tell me what you like about the podcast, what you don't like about it, what you like about the blog, really whatever you'd like to talk about. I'm happy to get back to you. And just remember, there will be a new episode of the Ear to There podcast each and every Monday morning. So I'm really looking forward to next week's show. Thanks. Have a great week. Bye-bye.